I said, arkadaşım. İşte bu.
There's nothing more powerful than you making your thing happen. Really going for it. Doing business.
I wanted to give you this for Christmas. And get this, you can get this without even... Fuck off in your fucking class.
You mean?
John Kramer. He has been a civil engineer and an architect for almost 40 years. And what interests me about him is that he is interested in many, many, many things from the point of view of philosophy, theology.
Really fun to work with him on this. They couldn't have hired a better director, because imagine like everything this man has to hold in his head all day long, like 18 years of details.
And this is his biggest movie by far. So that had to be in this film.
It doesn't matter, but he's validated everything he does. He's rationalized it in his mind. He knows what they've done. He knows they deserve to be punished for it. He wants. I took one look at her, and I was like, oh my God, she is perfect.
I had so many goosebump moments on this movie. You know, from the very beginning, the moment that I got the script.
So we're confronted with this darkness that's inside all of us, and I think that's some of the coolest thing about this movie. Actually, makes it different to the other movies as well.
What the hell is that?
It's our next nightmare.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 hardest sawed.
Body is a miraculous creation. Ever wonder how far the arm can twist?
Whatever you do, don't lean forward.
For this list, we'll be looking at the most impossible to escape traps throughout the Saw franchise. Warning, the hazards ahead include some spoilers, so don't say you weren't warned. Which trap would you least want to find yourself in? Let us know in the comments below. Now, hopefully we don't get caught in a trap giving you the rest of the top 10. Number 10, the pendulum, Saw 5. The pendulum trap is very hard indeed, considering it is literally impossible to escape from.
I want to play the game.
Seth Baxter had killed his girlfriend Angelina and was released from prison after just 5 years owing to a technicality.
30 seconds, the pendulum will drop far enough to touch your body.
Seeking revenge, Angelina's brother Mark Hoffman kidnapped Seth and killed him via the pendulum trap. Seth is told that he can escape the trap by placing his hands in 2 vices and pushing the buttons therein. His hands would be crushed, but the trap would be stopped. Seth put his hands in the vices, only to find out that the trap is actually inescapable. The pendulum continues, slicing him apart. Number 9, knife chair, Saw 4. John Kramer's first trap is simple but incredibly effective. Its victim is Cecil Adams, a drug addict who accidentally caused John's wife Jill to suffer a miscarriage. John, in turn, kidnapped Cecil and attached him to his primitive knife chair.
I want to play a game. Your life is a lie, Cecil.
To escape the shackles fitted to the chair, Cecil had to press his face against the pressure plate on the other side of the 8 horizontally placed knives.
Just lean forward into the knives with your face.
It would be an absolutely brutal trap to escape from. Not only would the pain be excruciating, but the sufferer would be stuck with the knowledge that their face would be disfigured. Luckily for Cecil, the chair he was sitting on collapsed before he could finish the test. That being said, he didn't really make the most of his new lease on life. Number 8, The Silent Circle, Saw 3D. If the knife chair was simplistic, the Silence Circle is likely something out of a dystopian science fiction story. The trap is designed for two people, in this case, Bobby Dagan and Nina.
Hello, Bobby. Before you is one of your trusted colleagues. She has been your publicist for years.
Nina is placed in a contraption with various metal rods pointing at her throat. To free her from the trap, Bobby was forced to pull a key hanging from the fishing line out of her stomach. To make matters even more complicated, the rods would move closer whenever Nina screamed out in pain.
The choice is yours.
Unsurprisingly, Nina couldn't help but scream, and she ended up dying before Bobby could free her. This trap could technically be beaten, but it may as well be impossible. Who wouldn't scream out in pain while having a fishing hook dragged through their esophagus? Number 7, Pound of Flesh, Saw 6. Like the knife chair, this trap is simple in theory. The person to cut off the most flesh wins and is allowed to live.
You are predators, but today you become the prey.
Eddie decided to cut from his own stomach, whereas Simone had the idea of cutting off her arm using the provided meat cleaver.
Who will offer the most flesh in order to save their life? The choice is yours.
As her arm was heavier than Eddie's stomach flesh, Simone lived and Eddie was killed via a mechanical device attached to his head. This is a hard test for many reasons. It requires creativity, determination, and an incredible tolerance for pain. The thing is, it also forces the victims into competing with each other, all but guaranteeing that, in addition to their self-inflicted injuries, the winner will suffer survivor's guilt. Number 6, The Angel Trap, Saw 3. One of Saw 3's most brutal devices, the Angel Trap, is a contraption that tears its victims' ribs apart.
I believe you want to join your true family. Indeed, your only family. In death.
To escape the trap, Detective Allison Carey was forced to dunk her hand in a vat of acid to retrieve a key. Like the pendulum from Saw 5, the Angel Trap was technically inescapable. However, that wasn't by design. Instead, Jigsaw's apprentice Amanda Young manipulated the trap, making the lock and key completely useless. Even if it wasn't inescapable, this trap would be a tough one to conquer. Turning your hand into goop via a vat of acid probably doesn't feel very good, you know? Number 5, The Syringe Pit, Saw 2. It really is the most primitive traps that proved to be the most horrifying. Maybe it's because we can actually relate to the pain, or at least imagine what it would feel like.
The game I want to play is very similar to the one that you've been playing. It's a drug deal.
The nerve gas house in Saw 2 features a room containing a pit filled with used syringes.
Just one hint as to where that may is.
To unlock a metal door and retrieve the antidote to the nerve gas, the victim is forced to sift and dig through the syringes to retrieve a key. The trap was meant for Xavier, but he threw that is a grisly trap, and it proves to be one of the most wince-inducing of the entire series. You can just feel the pain. Number 4, 10 Pints of Sacrifice, Saw 5. This trap is quite similar to the Pound of Flesh, only this one would prove even more excruciating.
We have to stick our arm in to keep them open, but then we get stuck. We need to close that door.
To escape the room, Malik and Britt were forced to sacrifice 10 pints of their own blood.
So now I ask you, how much blood will you give in order to survive?
The blood was collected into a beaker, and it was retrieved by the victims sticking their hands into spinning saw blades. It was Britt's idea to work together, so both she and Malik were only forced to give 5 pints of blood each. At least the Pound of Flesh trap could be over in a matter of seconds, provided someone is brave enough to hack off a limb. In this one, the victim is forced to sit in excruciating pain and watch their hand be shredded by a saw blade.
Who did this to you?
Number 3, The Mausoleum, Saw 4. This trap is both cruel and incredibly complicated. Trevor and Art are shackled to a device that will strangle them to death if they don't work together. Unfortunately, Trevor's eyes and Art's mouth have been sewn shut, effectively preventing any obvious means of communication. To make matters even more complicated, Trevor is provided with various deadly tools, and Art notices that the key to the device is located on Trevor's shackle. Unsurprisingly, Trevor begins to panic, forcing Art to kill him with a hammer. Poor Trevor really got the short end of the stick. He couldn't see, didn't know what was happening, and had no idea how to escape the trap. Both men walking away from this one was nearly impossible. Number 2. Venus Flytrap, Saw 2. Police informant Michael Marks was the victim of the particularly horrifying Venus Flytrap.